and one of my focuses is consultant care. And so I was really excited to create this program and have Brian join me in hosting every morning. So Brian, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Excuse me. Good morning, everybody. Hope your day's off to a good start. Mine has already been busy. I took a little extra time off last night to get out in the sun. I hope you all did too. I actually just went out and shot hoops in the driveway for about a half an hour, which I haven't done in years. So still not as bad as I thought I was. So some hope. Anyway, my name is Brian Henn, over delivery for VACO as well as the data practice director. Again, a lot of you on the call I know, a lot I don't. Glad you're all here. Yeah, just here to chat and get caught up. If you guys have ideas, please share them. Please chime in. This is nothing heavy, nothing big work-wise. We're just trying to get connected and see and hear everybody and get your day off to a good start.
Exactly. And so today I am so excited to welcome Mark Lavine. He is a mental counselor here in Cincinnati. This is a really important topic, I think, for everyone to discuss, especially during this time. So I'm excited to welcome him to chat a little bit about mental health and some tips that you can be putting into practice now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. Well, thank you, Cassie. I think this is a great idea that you guys are meeting like this. So kind of before I get started, I'd like just to do like a simple one question mental health screen. And that is everybody wearing pants? Okay.
Yes.
One of the early signs of depression is showing up to an online meeting without pants. So want to make sure that we've got that covered. Okay, good. Well, so I have a private practice that I call Minds at Peace. And when I gave that name, it was kind of like, well, the idea being that I want to help people and I work with people with addictions and I work with people just dealing with stress, is that people can have minds at peace even in the midst of life's storms. And I never really thought of it in terms of life's pandemics, but this is truly a storm that we are facing. And so what is nice to know that it is possible to achieve a peace of mind, even when things are just kind of raging around you. And so before I went into private practice, I worked for years with veterans. And so I don't know if anybody on the call is a veteran, but there's a military phrase called embrace the suck. And it means, situation's bad, deal with it. Well, I kind of like to take it just a little bit further. I think it's interesting that they use the word embrace and actually kind of try to picture yourself embracing the suck. So instead of like pushing it away from you, you're actually I'm not saying that you'd like grab a hold of somebody with a virus, but that you are going to the situation itself, that you actually, you kind of lean into it and you bring it closer to you. And there's so much uncertainty that's around the world today. And what we know is that uncertainty plus fear equals anxiety. And anxiety in the short term to help you prepare for the future, great. Anxiety, the long term and constant release of cortisol in your body is damaging throughout your body and your brain. So it's almost kind of like trying to picture yourself. I was talking to a client yesterday as if like that a big ball of uncertainty is coming towards you and you're running away from it, or you could choose to just kind of like hop on and ride it like, you're doing a rodeo and like, okay, I'm just going to take hold of this uncertainty and you just kind of find an image that works for you. And I think so much of using your creativity is really helpful in times like this to be able to see things from a different frame of mind. And I'll throw one more other mathematical equation at you, which is suffering equals pain times resistance. So this is painful. There's no doubt about it that there's things that we can't do that we want to do, people that we want to see that we can't do in the ways we want. And the more we resist and just kind of grit our teeth and just I wish this wasn't happening and just kind of going on, it really just kind of makes us more stressed. And so when we know that the resistance is zero, Well, pain times zero that means the zero. So that means that we don't have any suffering, because our nervous system we has one set for pain, and then there's suffering is a whole nother part. And that always makes things actually worse. So one of the things that we know that people who practice mindfulness can actually help reduce even chronic pain, because it takes away the suffering piece that goes along with whatever the legitimate physical pain is. So we know that our minds can be really helpful in dealing with things, and it has a lot to do with the way we see things and our perspective of looking at things at the moment. So there's a technique that I don't know if maybe Cass is going to share the video that I talked about, but it's a real simple acronym. It's called STOP. And I'll just go over it with you here for a second. So does anybody know what the S stands for in STOP? Stands for stop. Okay. So real simple. So this is not really hard. So whatever you're doing, if you're feeling stress in the moment, just stop. And the T is to take some breaths. And so the key part of when you take some breaths is to make your exhales a little bit longer than your inhales. Every time we take an inhalation, that activates the part of our nervous system called the sympathetic nervous system that makes our heart rate actually get faster. But every time we exhale, we activate what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, which makes everything slow down. So if your exhales are longer than your inhales, then you're going to just automatically lower your heart rate and drop your blood pressure. So people who do rapid breathing because they're anxious actually are becoming more anxious just by the way they breathe. Posture can affect the way that you breathe. So if you're not sitting in a way that allows you to have deep exhales, you can become more anxious just by doing that. So you're going to take some breaths, and I say take 5 or 6 slow, deep breaths. That's it's a minute. And that will allow you to then do the O part of the stop, which is observe. And so you want to observe, what are you feeling in your body? So pay attention to the sensations. We all carry tension in different places. So I always, hold on to it in my jaw. So whenever I'm feeling tense, I got to check in with my face. Some people carry it in their shoulders or neck, and their back. But check in and see, maybe it's in your stomach. Well, notice what's going on in your body, because the body never lies to us. Our brains can lie to us all the time. Our bodies never lie to us about what's going on. So you want to check in with your body and notice what you're feeling. And then once you kind of notice that, because you could be walking around all day tense and not really paying attention to it, and then get down to the end of the day, it's like, my back really hurts. Well, okay, so you can take this time to then just relax. And then also observe your emotions that's going on. Am I angry, frustrated, irritated, whatever the heck it is? See if you can name it. So instead of it being this subconscious irritation, give it a name, and that tames it a little bit. And then also take a look at the thoughts that are going through your head. And you want to do just kind of like a dragnet check here, just the facts, ma'am. Just, well, that's too old a reference for too many people in this room, but check out what TV station that would be on. But anyway, so you want to just kind of compare the thoughts that go on in your head and say to yourself, are these thoughts or are these facts, right? And when I talk about facts, I mean like gravity level fact. So because so much of the time we think that thoughts are in our own head. Oh, it's in my head. It must be right. But it might just be a thought. And if you could say to yourself, hey, this is just the story I'm telling myself right now, and just acknowledge them as thoughts. And that gives you then a chance then to go into the P part, which is to proceed mindfully. And so once you've stopped, you've taken some breaths, slowed things down, you've observed your sensations in your body and your feelings, your thoughts. Now you've got a chance to say, okay, do I want to proceed in the same way that I was getting ready to do, that I always do? Or do I want to actually choose to do something different? And that's the kind of the mindful part. And we know that when you make a choice to do something different, it actually rewires your brain. So there's a saying that neurons that fire together wire together, which means that so you do the same thing over and over again, that our brains are lazy. It wants to use the least amount of energy possible, and so it's going to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But so it takes a little bit of an effort to say, okay, no, I'm gonna go this way instead. I'm going to do something differently. And I always suggest that people practice this the stop technique throughout the day, and just like set random times on your phone to just stop. Because even if you're eating or whatever it is that you're doing, or you're doing something with your kids or whatever it might be at home, it's unlikely that you couldn't stop for a second and just reassess what's going on and decide if you want to keep doing things the way you are. So practice is really important, and I can't emphasize that piece enough. Okay, so I also noticed it's 8:45, and I don't know how much, I don't want to, go over too much time, but I will just say one other thing, because I kind of heard some other people talking earlier, and I think one of the things that can be helpful, and even for kids, is like in times like this, if you can find ways to, one, express gratitude, because we know that people that practice gratitude see things in a different light, and then trying to find some ways to reach out to people to help. So if we can help others, that always makes us feel good, and it takes away some of our own stress. So I saw something on our local next door that said, okay, from 6 to 8, people are going to gather out on their porch, social distance, but we could yell at each other, or I read someplace else that there's one street, I can't remember what state it was, they all 6 feet apart, they all bring out their pots and pans, and they just kind of like have a primal scream, and but you can do all different kinds of things. Reach out and kind of engage your children as like, well, what can we do? How can we reach out to other people, and using social media or whatever, or Zoom rooms or something to find ways to help. And that might decrease some of the stress that goes on. Now I'm going to shut up now.
That is so awesome, Mark. That is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing those pieces.
Sure.
I think those are really important tools that we can all put into practice, and especially during this time, but always,
Right.
So I really appreciate Mark joining us. We are a couple minutes over, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. But what I am going to do is I'm going to follow up with an email. I'll also put it in the chat here, Mark's contact information and his website. If you do want to get connected with him to learn more, this is a great time and wonderful way to connect. So with that, as Mark said, go out and help someone, or even if helping them is just reaching out with a kind note, it's really important, not only for that person, but for yourself as well. So thank you so much. If you all have any other comments or want to stay on for a few minutes in the chat, feel free to do so. But for everybody else, have a great Thursday, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
See you
Bye,
guys.
have a good day.
Thank you.